over my dead body. Spare human bodies grown in artificial rooms in lab, as scientists insist bodyoids feel no pain and can serve as meat. Hey everyone, this is Venomnous. Is it me or did it get a little Brave New World open here? Researchers insisted on moving forward with the revolutionary plan. Oh, very revolutionary indeed. It's been pretty wild here. Cutting-edge scientists have unveiled a disturbing plan to grow soulless, spare human bodies that can be used for medical experiments and even meat. What? Funny that this should come out shortly after the movie Mickey 17, which is a science fiction black comedy film written, produced, and directed by Bong Joon-ho, based on the 2022 novel Mickey 7 by Edward Ashton. He had to make it a 17. I wonder why. Seems to be the trend this year, for sure. 17, huh? Anyways, the film stars Robert Pattinson in the title role, alongside Naomi Ackie, Stephen Yeun, Toni Collette, and Mark Ruffalo. Set in the year 2054. The plot follows a man who joins a space colony as an expendable, disposable worker who gets cloned every time he dies for research purposes. Oh, interesting. Mickey 17 premiered in the 75th Berlin International Film Festival on February 15th, 2025, and was theatrically released by Warner Brothers Pictures in South Korea on February 28th, 2025, and the United States on March 7th. The film received generally positive reviews from critics, but was a box office bomb, grossing at $111 million worldwide against the production budget of $118 million, losing Warner Brothers an estimated $75 million. Whoa. I watched the movie just recently just to see if there was anything interesting in it, and yeah, there was a few things in there, including artificial wombs. Yes, Brave New World, baby. But before we move on to that, just take some look at some pictures. Here's the printer. 3D printer, of course, to print the human body, the expendable. They're not quite there in the technology in our reality. They're not openly willing to, showcase such a technology if they have it. But yeah, pretty interesting stuff here. Great timing. Great timing, everyone. Get everyone to just see this expendable for research purposes, and now you're talking about essentially cloning bodies from stem cells or whatever to make expendable bodies for research purposes. Now, there's been other predictive programming like this in the past, like Altered Carbon was a little more different, but it was the same essential idea where you would die and you'd be cloned again. They called them sleeves. Essentially, you die and you're got a sleeve. Now, the only way you could live on for many, many centuries this way, especially for the elites in this situation. Never watched the show. I tried to watch a couple episodes. I just couldn't get into it immediately, so I never got around to it. Plus, I don't have time to watch your propaganda wheel all the time. I'm sure you all understand that. But yeah. There's an interesting synopsis here that I'd like to share. The series starts 360 years into the future, with most episodes of the first season set in the year 2384, in a futuristic metropolis known as Bay City. In the future, a person's memories and consciousness, termed digital human freight, or DHF, are recorded onto a disc-shaped device called a cortical stack, which is implanted in the vertebrae at the back of the neck. These storage devices are alien design, huh? Interesting. And have been reverse engineered, and so they got it from the aliens. Okay. Reverse engineered and mass produced, but can only be made from the material on Harlan's world Physical human or synthetic bodies are called sleeves, and stacks can be transferred to new bodies after death. But a person can still be killed if their stack is destroyed and there is no backup. Now, the thing in Mickey 17 is they kept constantly backing up the memories of the Mickey, is the character who kept getting, he's the expendable. They would constantly, update his memories to what was like a brick, and then they would every time they printed them out, re-upload the memories back into the brain of the new clone. Very interesting that this has been common theme in a lot of shows. There's that TV show Upgraded or Upgrade, or whatever it's called, where you can, if you die, you get uploaded to this digital world, and at some point in the show, they were coming up with the possibility of re-downloading your consciousness that's in the matrix, or whatever you would call it, back into a new body, a cloned body of your deceased body. Yeah, so same thing. Only the wealthiest, known as Meths, is reference to Methuselah, have the means to change bodies through clones and remote storage of their consciousness in satellites, so they never have to die or of old age before being re-sleeved. Takashi Kovacs, a political operative with mercenary skills, is the sole surviving soldier of the Envoys, a rebel group defeated in an uprising against the New World Order. Oh dear. Oh my. Enough of that fiction. Or, I mean, New World Order fiction? I don't know. Moving on. Oh, let's look at a couple pictures. Some creepy artwork there. That looks healthy. Got your lovely black cube Saturn there. Good stuff. Good stuff. Looks really good for the mind to watch this crap. Apparently, it came out with an animated series, but I haven't. It's called Re-Sleeved. Never looked it up. Could be some interesting propaganda in that, but maybe for another time. Let's move on. Researchers hope to grow the fetuses entirely outside a body in artificial uteruses, which are already being tested in labs. Oh, of course they are. Been covering it for many, many years. They plan on using genetic techniques to stunt brain production and ensure the body lacks sentience. Inside the creepy first artificial room facility, which lets parents choose baby eye color, height, and intelligence. Remember this video by, whatever the hell his name is? Hasham Al-Ghali? Like he knows biotechnology, but he's not making these things himself. He does more art pieces. This is not even his first take of this. He had a previous video that didn't take off like this one. It had only like 1,000 or something views, whereas this one jumped up to millions. He did a much better polishing of it and made it much more creepy. Oh, the other one was creepy. The babies look like demons. This one is way more polished, way better. Definitely took off. I actually was making a video for this, but it's unfinished. But I digress. Yeah, look, this is the feeding chamber, and then there's this one's for the waste. Anyways, let's move on. Once they've grown, the bodies could address many ethical problems in modern medicine, offering ways to avoid unnecessary pain and suffering, wrote the scientists. One of those issues, according to brazen scientists, is sourcing ethical meat. What? They're going to eat humans? No, they do later clarify that they can do this technology with animals too, but I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll say it's better for the planet if you just eat your own. They wrote, for example, they could offer ethical alternative to the way we currently use non-human animals for research and food, providing meat or other products with no animal suffering or awareness. The researchers admitted their plan poses endless ethical questions, but stressed the world of possibilities it could open up if the spare bodies are developed. Spare bodies. Come on. They pointed out how medical researchers have been primarily relying on animals for testing, which isn't always directly transferable to human treatments. Plus, the testing potentially tortures the creatures as they're sentient and feel pain. Now, in the actual MIT review, which is just a long blah 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 blah, blah, they talk about how they've already started doing the practice of experimental surgeries on people that are essentially brain dead with the permission of of the family, of course. But I mean, like, why? According to the researchers, endless drugs are constantly being tested, but very few of them get cleared for safe use on people. That's because the meds have been performed on live humans in clinical trials that risk harm to patients and can take a decade or longer to complete. Only about 15% of those trials are actually successfully completed, the researcher said. Medical mystery. The scientists pointed to over 100,000 Americans who are currently waiting for a solid organ transplant and stressed that the crisis isn't stopping anytime soon. Now, you remember back in COVID, everyone getting intubated. Actually, that was basically a death sentence because uh, when you go on as intubated, you get intubated, you can essentially blow out your lungs, and then they would treat you with things like remdesivir, and you pretty much a death sentence. And they would go around and they would, because if you didn't know this, you can't, dead body organs are useless. They gotta get it from a living body, right? So, they're no good if you're dead. All these intubated people, they just have to tell the parents, they're not gonna make it. At this point, you could do some good. With your permission, you could get these organs to help other people. Now, they must have had a massive surge of organs back then. That's all I'm saying. But are they really going to the people that need it? Because I feel like, no. They probably put them in their milkshakes for breakfast. The elite, that is. They also know that medical students rely on people who opt to donate their bodies to science for necessary training in school. At the end of the bizarre essay, the scientists made a desperate plea to start testing on rodents as soon as possible. They said, until recently, the idea of making something like a bodyoid, what a weird, creepy name. It's like droid, android, bodyoid, would have been regulated to the realms of science fiction and philosophical speculation. But now it is at least plausible and possibly revolutionary. It is time for it to be explored. Yeah, yeah, let's explore that. Making Expendables. Yes. Now back to the artificial wombs real quick, because I didn't think that this would be a way that they could get their foot in the door with that. Just to talk Brave New World for a second. The whole genetic engineering conditioning, the caste system in Brave New World, is based on a combination of genetic engineering conditioning. The society is divided into five distinct castes: alpha, beta, gamma, delta, and epsilons. Epsilons being the most mentally stunted. They literally can do like the most menial tasks, like door lift, stuff like that. They're very stupid, and they're genetically made that way. The caste system in Brave New World is based on a combination of genetic engineering and conditioning. The society is divided into five distinct castes, like we just read. Each caste is predetermined to perform specific functions in the society. Individuals are conditioned to accept and fulfill their roles without question. Alphas are on the top of the social hierarchy and are the most intelligent and privileged individuals. They hold positions of power and authority and are responsible for making important decisions. Betas are also highly intelligent and hold positions of responsibility, but they are not as privileged as alphas. Gammas, deltas, and epsilons are progressively less intelligent and are assigned menial and repetitive tasks in the society. Now, yeah, like I said, I covered this a lot. So I didn't even go that way. Oh yeah, me and Jeff Z, we did a whole video on this, and I'll link it at the end of the video. I was gonna actually go on there and find a clip or something from there, and maybe I'll stick it into the video at some point when I'm editing it. But yeah, we had a good conversation on that.
This article off Metro UK has a hilarious sort of.
He looks unsure.
He
I don't
doesn't
know
look.
about this.
She looks happy. He's like, damn.
Is it even my kid?
It sucks. What? We're not even gonna have sex now?
Even...
It's like, what did I do? What did I marry?
She's like, I feel great. I'm so liberated.
Yes.
I can't wait to go to my.
Let's go home and watch the L Word. Human babies, and that's interesting too that they would call a show the L Word. Yeah, I don't know if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, that one. It's like that's an old one.
They're rebooting that show. So the L Word.
Okay.
If people don't know this, the L Word, you think, well, what is the L Word? I mean, anybody you go to, hey, what's the L Word? And there's only one word that you would think of with the L Word, right? It'd be love, right? Because that's the greatest word ever, sort of thing, right? Or what it symbolizes. But no, the L Word is lesbian, of course. But yeah, here you go. Human babies born using artificial womb possible in a decade. Again, the exact same timeline being pushed here.
Yep.
Where, it's 2030. So 2030 with all your Agenda 2030, everything that did driverless cars, right? The global warm carbon credits, everything.
The nanotech, the brain chips.
Yep, nanotech, exactly. All of this, transhumanism, all of it is focused. Well, at least that's their yardstick for now. Like that's where they're like, this is the big year.
This is our goal. We want to get this done by as soon as close.
And then when they get there, they'll have 2050.
Yep.
Right.
And then 2080 and then 2100.
Yeah, exactly. So the Agenda 21, because people sometimes get confused. The Agenda 21 is for 21st century. So it's like, but they're so far ahead that they did the Agenda 2030 and they said, well, we can actually achieve all this stuff by 2030. And then you just go to the 17 sort of sustainment development goals that they have. And you'll see all that, right? You'll see it's every element of society basically. So, but the tech is really crazy because if people aren't paying attention to like the nanotech and the brain chips and all this, because if you're not seeing this, because you can't go around thinking, and it's easy for us to fall into that things are just going to go on as they are, and like 50, 100 years from now, there'll be, married people with babies and families, and it'll just be kind of like today, except a little bit more bizarre. It's going to be so radically different. Yeah. It might be by 2030 that they ban, I think in many ways, Venomnymous, that they will ban traditional births. I
could see it happening just because, it's too risky.
Yes.
Yes.
And
they're just not going to let us live the way we want to live. We have to face it. We can't ignore it. They're not going to let us. At some point, they're really like, no, you cannot. You can't enjoy your life anymore. You're going to have to do exactly what we say. And having a viviparous birth is one of those things.
Yeah, exactly. And this is interesting because they do show the lamb that the premature lamb that they took and they grew in a bag, which I'm sure a lot of people have already seen. This is so.
Is that Ziploc brand?
Yeah. Well, they show this in the movies too, and then the television shows, like Altered Carbon is one of them, and the recent sequel to Blade Runner had them growing clones in bags like this, and then they would drop to the floor. Really, really disturbing. Full-grown human clones, basically.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that one yet.
You haven't seen? Okay, yeah.
Out.
I have that for later. I'll show it to you. It's pretty disturbing. But yeah, you've got here. It's interesting how they talk about surrogacy growing in awareness, particularly with Kim Kardashian choosing a surrogate for her third and fourth child. So the Kardashian.
I wonder why she did that.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe she has to get more ass injections. But yeah, these Kardashians are always part of this type of programming, obviously. And what's the difference? And they say here, what's the difference between contracting a person to carry your baby or contracting a machine? Well, I don't know. What's the difference?
There is no difference, apparently.
What's the difference? Well, you want a human
what's
being?
The difference? What's
Go
the
ahead.
difference of stirring your coffee with your spoon or a stapler? What's the difference?
Yeah.
It's still going to mix the drink.
Well, what's the difference between putting cream in your coffee or turpentine? What's the difference? The difference. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit different that a machine is giving birth to your baby than a human being. But but this is the programming, right? Because Kim Kardashian will probably be one of the first people to have one of these babies born this way. It actually was the celebrities. In fact, here in Quebec, the intro vitro or what is it? Vero fertilization. It was the first person in Quebec to get it was Celine Dion.
Well, yeah, the road to human invention, part 1. CRISPR babies in the brave new womb. That's what it's all about, baby. It's getting them factory-produced humans. Where is I? Remember this guy? Still no proof he ever actually did what they said. Location of Chinese scientists who said they created first gene-edited babies unknown. Where are these babies? They should be pretty grown up by now, or at least old enough now to learn about them. But I digress. So they've been doing this for a long time, making babies, how to create human embryos with no egg or sperm. They don't even need you. And that's why reproduction is on a steady decline. It is dropping fast. As you can see, the global fertility crash, brought to you by Bloomberg.com. This was in 2019. Live births per woman dropped all below the 2.1 threshold. There's only a small handful of nations, I think they're all in Africa, that are even above the very minimum that you need to be to maintain a society, a healthy, reproductive, growing society, maintain proper population. Artificial womb. Dutch researchers given a 2.9 whatever hell that is million to develop prototype. These creepy little balloons. We all float down here, bitchy. To be similar biological conditions with the baby surrounded by fluids and receiving oxygen and nutrients through an artificial placenta that will connect to their umbilical cord. Just wonderful. You all remember this lamb. Now, this is very interesting. We'll go over to it now. The end of natural motherhood. I did this post 7 years ago. This was actually the end of natural motherhood. It was a conference. Before I go on to that, there's this creepy, weird Turent video that I've always talked about, and look how it's very similar to where is it? No, it's very similar. Oh, look. That's same shape. Long before you, Mr. Hashem Al-Ghali. People are coming up with that long before you, dude. This is just see how they have a feeding tube here. It's really weird. She'd blend up the shakes. They'd talk to the baby through this microphone. I love how their outfits resemble the first awful Brave New World movie. They gotta make a good movie. All their movies are terrible. This is a way that she can stay connected to her baby. She can actually rock the baby with this vest type device while she's out. She'd make the baby its nutrient-rich foods. And yeah, this is hatching, decanting day, as we should call it, because they're not being born. being decanted, as in the words of Brave New World, Aldous Huxley's blueprint for the future. Because they call it a warning, but he was one of them. He wasn't warning you. He was just telling you what they have to tell you before they do it. Yeah, there's several videos. This is even creepier. This is the mock interview before they get the baby in a little artificial womb, and they talk about, what kind of eye color do you want the baby to have? And they chose purple, of course. And do you want it to be a boy or a girl? And how much like you do you want it to be? And do you want it to have any special skills? And they say, oh, we want it to be a underwater welder or some shit like that. And it's like, oh, we can't, blah, blah, blah. We can increase the lung capacity and stuff. It's just all the things that they've talked about and all the other stuff. This is just another predictive programming thing. This is a student video. This is all made by students of there's like a fair that they did. So the students are at this biodesign challenge summit. It's still very they were so this is just a biodesign challenge summit, and these are student made videos. But it's very strikingly similar to, say, Hashama Ghali's thing, and it's just a cool thing. Oh, look, a robot that has been the first to have its first period. Wonderful. But yeah, we've seen this image. I don't know who made this artwork, but it's also the same design. I think this is probably older than that Biodesign Summit mock-up. It's probably older than that. And if you aren't aware of where artificial wombs came, whether the concept of it, it's all from J.B.S. Haldane. He called it ectogenesis. He termed the coin in 1924. Hugely influential science popularizer. Haldane did for the generation what Carl Sagan did later in the century. He got people thinking and talking about the implications of science and technology on our civilization, and did not shy away from inventing new words in order to do so, describing ectogenesis as pregnancy occurring in an artificial environment, from fertilization to birth. Haldane predicted that by 2074, this would count for more than 70% of human births. Interesting. Yeah, it's wonderful. Now back to the beginning here. The end of motherhood. Now that's in quotation marks because it was actually from a conference, an out-of-body experience. Reproductive neonatal medicines have cut the minimum time that fetuses need to spend time in womb. This is from 2002. Completely artificial pregnancies in the offspring. Jonathan Knight investigates. Scott Gelfand wants us to learn a lesson from cloning. When Dolly the sheep burst onto the public stage in 1997, ethicists and politicians were caught by surprise. 5 years later, legislation around the world is still being updated. Gelfand, director of the Ethics Center at Oklahoma State University in Tulsa, is determined not to let the same thing happen with the artificial womb. So in February, he hosted a conference entitled The End of Natural Motherhood, the Artificial Womb, and Designer Babies. Wonderful. No one in attendance believed that Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, in which fetuses were nurtured in the laboratory rather than the womb, is about to become reality. But research into how to help premature babies has already allowed those born as young as 24 weeks into pregnancy to live. In vitro fertilization, which, by the way, was just a stepping stone to artificial wombs, if you think about it. This is how they got themselves in the door, helping people to become parents like they always wanted through means by interfering with their science, growing the fetus outside fertilizing the eggs with the cells, ensuring that the eggs develop into embryos. It now allows embryos to be cultured for up to 3 days before being implanted, and researchers believe that longer times may be possible. And current methods were pushed to their absolute limit. Normal human gestation could, in theory, be halved into 20 weeks, although not without probable harm to the fetus. At some point, the two ends will connect, Galpin claims. We need to start thinking about this now. Right. Now, it's always been my theory that they would use the LGBTQ plus community and women's rights, anti-abortion or the pro-abortionists, pro-choice. This would be the solution for the anti-abortion, pro-abortion to find a happy solution, because all these women that don't want to have a baby could, theoretically, it wouldn't have to. They could be placed into an artificial womb and grown there, and they wouldn't have to have anything to do with it. But yeah. And the LGBTQ plus, they'd be able to genetically design this creature that would meet both the father's or mother's genetics, and voila, you got your thing in an artificial womb. But yeah, it's crazy. This is the stepping stone, perhaps, or at least, I mean, like, as if they're growing this, they're gonna grow. They're gonna grow spare human bodies from fetus to a fully grown human that's been retarded to the point it can't feel having sentience, and then use that thing to butcher and do all sorts of medical experiments on. It's crazy. I don't know if this is going to take off. I can definitely see the women's rights angle pushing it further, though. But I don't know. What do you think? Anyways, I just wanted to share this. I don't really have any much more to say, because it's just, it's crazy. It's crazy times we're living in. Everything I've been talking about, just more of it's making its way to reality, and it's just, you hope you're just like, full of crap, and it's all just fiction, but here we are, getting closer to that point. Bodyoids. Give me a break. Anyways, thanks for watching. Catch y'all next time.
Are you talking to me? Are you talking to me? No way, Paul.